Let's quickly move on to our big developing story that we're tracking very closely right here on India Today, and that is the entire controversy, the political showdown over the Prime Minister unveiling the Lotus symbol as the logo of G20. Here's more.
The Lotus, the national flower of India, represents our history and culture and symbolizes spirituality, fruitfulness, wealth and knowledge.
This is the new logo of G20 unveiled by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday. The Prime Minister, who launched the logo featuring the lotus and the message of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future, claims it represents hope in these testing times.
India's G20 presidency is coming at a time of crisis and chaos in the world. Symbol of the lotus in the G20 logo is a representation of hope in these times.
The design that features lotus, the national flower, which also happens to be the election symbol of the BJP, has sparked a political storm. The Congress communication chief, Jai Ram Ramesh, accused the BJP of promoting itself using the G20 logo. The BJP hit back, accusing the Congress of denigrating national symbols. The two parties were soon trading charges over the G20 logo.
भारत का राष्ट्रीय पुष्प क्या है? हम सब ने पढ़ा है स्कूल में, राष्ट्रीय पुष्प कमल है। मतलब राष्ट्रीय पुष्प होगा और उसके ऊपर आपको राजनीति नजर आएगी। ये दर्शाता है कि राष्ट्र और राष्ट्रवाद के किसी भी तत्व के प्रति आपके मन में कितनी अवमानना है और उसको लेट डाउन करने के लिए आप किसी भी सीमा तक जाने को तैयार हैं।
I am very proud of the lotus as a symbol, but it has unfortunately been adopted by one particular party. Everyone of us is proud of our hand. But how would the BJP have reacted if the Congress government or the UPA government had put a hand in an international symbol for the country? You can say every Indian has a hand, but that doesn't mean that, when your party is using it as a symbol, that you can then put it on a national or international cause.
The G20 presidency in Indonesia has a symbol which comes from a Hindu-Buddhist heritage, and no opposition was done there, despite the fact that it is a Muslim-dominated country. But here the Congress party is opposing the national flower. The Congress party is opposing a symbol of our Astha and our Bodhikta only because they oppose Narendra Modi ji.
India assumes the presidency of G20 from the current chair, Indonesia, on December 1 and will hold the post for a year. The political showdown has, however, cast a shadow on a very important milestone. With Akshay Dongre in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
So what's the controversy about? What's the big political showdown all about? Let's quickly cut across to our guest this evening. Anila Singh, spokesperson, Bharatiya Janata Party. Mahima Singh, advocate, spokesperson, Congress. Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst. And Rahul Iswar, author and activist. All four of them join us this evening. Thank you for joining us. Anila Singh, the fact is the BJP might say that this is a national flower which was picked by no one else but Nehru. What the Congress says is that if it is your party symbol, then it's through dirty inception. You're trying to push it by putting it as a part of the G20 logo, which is India's representation abroad.
My Ram Ram to everyone. And it is very sad the way Congress party is reacting and behaving in today's state when Narendra Modi ji, he went ahead and he made Lotus as a symbol of upcoming G20 summit. I mean, if we talk about the Lotus, it is, yes, it is the national flower of our country, but it has got a very unique position if we talk about our mythology or our culture. So they are not respecting that as well. And I was, listening to Mr. Shashi Tharoor. What type of justification or statement of the argument he is giving? That if we would have decided to make a hand as a symbol, then what would have been the explanation or what would have been the reaction from Bharatiya Janata Party? What he is talking about? Can you compare hand with the lotus? Lotus, I mean, as I mentioned, that it has got unique position in our culture. And if Congress party doesn't have any sense of our culture, then they should read something. At least Mr. Tharoor, he has written so many books, and if he doesn't understand the importance of Lotus in Bharat, then it is very, very sad state of Congress party.
Mahima Singh, the symbol Lotus is steeped in Indian mythology, steeped in Indian culture. It symbolizes so much of what we are as a country. It happens to be also the electoral symbol of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Why the fuss when it was Nehru who himself picked it as the national flower, keeping in mind the ethos it shares with the country?
True, Preeti. Thank you for having this debate this evening. When Jawaharlal Nehru selected Lotus as our national flower, those were not the times when one party, one autocratic party was dreaming of, sort of capturing the whole democracy and dreaming of a Congress Mukt Bharat. Those were the times when Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru also refused to have our national flag as the Congress flag. There was a proposal, there was a consideration going on that we can as well make the Congress flag as the national flag. But Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru refused to that, and that was the kind of view and vision that the Congress leaders, that the Congress has always had. But what the BJP has done, what the Prime Minister has done, shows the myopic view, shows the constricted vision of the BJP. What we see in the G20 logo, which has 20 countries, this is a globalization initiative that where the countries come together. But what we see is a lotus juxtaposed with the globe on it. And I think it is very clear, we are all not kindergarten kids. I think it's very clear what is being done here. I think the BJP had this opportunity to show that they can think beyond themselves. This is exactly what the BJP, we're not surprised. Our General Secretary in charge of communications, Jai Ram Ramesh, has also tweeted about it, that we're not shocked. By now we know how the BJP acts, what is its culture. They're so full of themselves that they can't look beyond themselves. They think that
All right, okay, we've lost you there. We're going to try and reconnect. Rahul Iswar, the fact is where every rally, especially its political season right now, what you hear constantly is not about candidate's name, it's not about Bharatiya Janata Party, it's about basic inception, Kamal ka phool, Kamal ka phool. And, one might argue that it was Nehru who picked the Kamal ka phool as the national flower, keeping in mind, its history with India, what it symbolizes. But at that point of time, Kamal ka phool wasn't a symbol for the Bharatiya Janata Party. It wasn't an electoral symbol.
Lotus is a symbol of India itself, not only in India. If you check the world civilizations, for example, in the ancient Egypt, it is represented about afterlife, a rebirth after your death. That's what it symbolizes in the Egyptian culture. Look at the Buddhist culture. When Lord Buddha attained nirvana, it is said 1,000-petal lotus bloomed. Or even in both Hinduism and Buddhism, it is revered so much. And even in Christianity, many people in the in the Christian world associate Apostle Thomas, Saint Thomas of Holy Jesus Christ, coming to India, and lotus is being associated with him. So lotus has been a cultural symbol of India for past many thousand years. There are BJP, which is great prides in India's culture, maybe have taken that. So it is up to any Indian to take that. For example, we derive our tricolor from the Congress flag, which actually Gandhiji and Pingali Vengaya designed in 1921. So these are all cultural symbols of India. Rather than fighting politically, shouldn't we be proud that our lotus or Indian lotus is holding the globe and giving the message of Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam? What better than lotus to represent? For example, if you take the case of Tulsi, Tulsi is more associated with Hindu culture, the medicinal values and all. But lotus has a Indian universal connotation. How can we forget the cultural, civilizational, historical significance of lotus and only see through the party political prism? I believe Congress should be, more widening their views. The Congress party, which even had cow as their election symbol once. Indira Gandhi's one of the election symbols was vote for cow and calf. Forget all others now. From that great party, which accepted Hindu sentiments and Indian cultural civilization, they have gone a hard left liberal line, which is unrealistic and unbecoming of the Indian culture.
All right. Tehseen Poonawalla, the fact is, are we making, much ado about nothing where the opposition is concerned? The lotus as a flower is used in various pujas. In the Diwali puja, it's an eternal part. The lotus is a flower on many of our deities, Hindu deities rest on. So are we actually, making too much of using the lotus as a part of the G20 symbol? Because ultimately it's, signifies, symbolizes India. It's not religious to say Hindu culture. It encompasses what our cultural ethos is.
Good evening, Preeti. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Jai Ram to everyone. 2 or 3 issues. In the greatest book I have ever read, and perhaps the greatest mythological or epic in the world, the Mahabharata, Lord Krishna asks a question when Duryodhana tries to justify his wrongdoing through the prism of legality. Does morality override legality? It's a very important question that the Mahabharata poses before us. Does morality override legality? Does legality override morality? So sure, the BJP can take refuge in saying that legally we are correct. But just 4 days ago, and I'm quoting from India Today, the most honorable Prime Minister said, don't vote for anybody, just vote for Lotus. Now we are in election season. The Prime Minister of India has been pulled up by not the opposition but by the Election Commission of India, I'm quoting from India Today, for flaunting the Lotus symbol while he had gone to vote. This is in 2014. Now we have elections and the Prime Minister is unveiling the Lotus, saying that this represents India. Surely the Lotus represents India. Who's denying it? But so does the tiger. So does so many other symbols. So does the elephant. By the way, the parks that Mayawati ji has built, when there are elections, the elephant is covered by the Election Commission, it's covered. So why would you put something when the Prime Minister himself has said, don't vote for anything but the Lotus? Only look at the Lotus, don't even look at the name of the candidate, you're voting for me. Vote for the Lotus, vote for me.
But Tehseen, by that virtue of fact, if Mayawati wanted,
argument. Let me come to a...
Yeah, make your point.
I made a political argument. Now let me make another argument. When you say that, look, it is the symbol for India, I agree, it is the symbol for India. Nobody is denying that the Lotus is the symbol for India. But the fact of the matter is, there were so many other symbols you could have taken from. And the fact is that Rahul Ishwar rightly said, that when Mrs. Gandhi said vote for the cow and the calf, and the Congress is the Hindu party in this country, the Congress never made it a symbol for some event that they were having.
Okay.
And when the BJP spokesperson says Lotus is very revered, of course it's revered, but so is the hand. Every single god and goddess blessing us.
All right, I want to bring in Anila Singh back into this conversation. But Tehseen, on the other account, there is also an argument. You talk about all the elephants being shrouded at a time of elections or covered when Mayawati was in power. You can't cover lotuses as you can't cover the jhadu. Those things cannot happen. You can't go to ponds and cover lotuses as well. But I will bring in... Okay.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that.
Okay, make your point.
I'm saying, when the Prime Minister is saying vote for the Lotus, he's displaying a Lotus as a event that, or as a organization that he's that he's chairing.
Fair enough. And that's the point, Anila Singh, that's the point that I was making to you earlier. The fact is, you had a plethora of insignias to pick from, symbols to pick from, which could have been religion neutral, could have been all encompassing on what India really means. The Lotus clearly, madam, would smack of politically trying to push a point forward.
Preeti ji, the reality is this is one more stand from Congress party when this party has shown its hatred for Hindu or Hinduism or Hindutva, whatever you want to say. Because time and again we have seen that how they have insulted.
But Anila Singh, are you admitting it's a Hindu symbol? Because if you are admitting it's a Hindu symbol, you are going against the grain of the argument your party is making that it is religion neutral.
Preeti ji, let me complete and you will come to know, you will understand why I am saying so. If we talk about lotus flower, we very well know in Hinduism, a lotus flower has a mythological significance. For Hindu deities, Vishnu and Lakshmi, usually they are depicted standing on pink lotus flower. And if you talk about Goddess Saraswati tends to be depicted on white lotus flower. And if you talk about Lord Vishnu, he is being, described as the lotus-eyed one. And if we talk about Buddhism, like in Buddhism, it depicts, lotus flower depicts purity of body, speech, mind. And it has got its own significance because, when we talk about a lotus flower, it floats on muddy water. So it represents that, yes, you can flourish in the worst conditions as well. So it has got its own meaning and such beautiful meaning, and that is why Mr. Nehru must have decided that it has to become a national flower.
But and I'll bring in Mahima back into this conversation. When Jawaharlal Nehru decided that, Anila Singh, the Bharatiya Janata Party did not have Lotus as an electoral symbol, and maybe then it would not have been made the national flower, understandably so, because Mahima Singh also has a point. When the whole advocacy of putting forth the Indian national flag as the Congress flag was pitched, it was turned down. But Mahima Singh, have you fallen into the trap now to once again be called anti-Hindu?
We don't care what trap the BJP tends to or attempts to bring us into. I just want to ask the BJP spokesperson one thing, Preeti. She is telling us what all does the Lotus mean. Will she deny that the Lotus is not the BJP's logo? Will she deny that? And will she deny that two states are not going to an election? We can't cover a hand either.
Ma'am, let her talk. No point talking over each other. Go ahead.
Cover a jhadu or you can't cover a Lotus. Please listen to me. You said that you can't cover a jhadu or a Lotus. You can't cover a hand either. Indeed, you vote with your hand. But if the Congress, can you name ever in the history that the Congress party in this country unveiled anything at that level when when states were going to elections? And no other leader like the Modi ji has the popularity in this country today. No other leader has in recent times.
I'm going to take the permission of our panelists. I know you all want to come in. We just had a bit of news break with Sanjay Raut right on top of this bulletin. I apologize, Tehseen and Rahul Ishwar. I need to bow out of this debate. That's all the time we have for now. Unfortunately, Mr. Sanjay Raut's cavalcade and all the pomp and pageantry of his release from jail took over a bit of time. But we're going to keep a keen eye on all developments. Appreciate all our panelists for joining us.